this week's Three Legs, Four Wheels F1 podcast. It's Paul here with...
Sean.
Chris.
Lee.
Sorry, can't hear you.
You can hear us.
Yeah, you absolutely can. We fixed those problems.
We have. Sorry that we didn't do a show last week, but we didn't really have anything. We didn't have anything to talk about, did we?
Well, we did, but we were all... You would have had a shit podcast, and no podcast is better than a shit one.
That I agree.
Yeah, we were better saving all our thoughts to try and do something good this week.
And hopefully have more thoughts as well, because there was a race in between.
Yes.
Can we not talk this podcast up, though, just in case this is shit, too?
It's going to be better than last week's would have been, because we're all awake.
That's true.
This time last week, I was asleep. Somebody keep me awake.
Well, this was worth the wait, wasn't it?
It really was. So how's the last fortnight been for everyone?
Tiring.
Getting your energy sorted out for TT? All ready to go and rage for 2 weeks solid?
No.
Or
No.
complain about the amount of traffic when you're trying to get to work?
That's the best bit.
No.
See, I don't think I've ever complained about the amount of traffic. It's just, well, I probably have, but it doesn't bother me that much. It's temporary. You know what I mean? Just a couple of weeks' time, no one's going to care anymore.
Yeah, true, I suppose. We have been asked to get as much extra TT content in as we can, and fortunately I'm off work during race week, so I'll be out and about with camera, video camera, voice recorder, may even get around to doing that special Three Legs, Two Wheels podcast we've been talking about for how many years? Well, not the last...
For forever.
Not the last two, obviously, but...
What about if you do something on sidecars?
Three legs, three wheels.
There you go.
3 legs and a fewer number of wheels than normal. That really rolls off the tongue, doesn't it? Right then, Spanish Grand Prix, the home of testing and usually the home of a parade.
Well, you say that. Most people say it's usually a boring race. I don't recall any race being like Paul Ricard levels of shit. But at the same time...
That's the problem, though, because Paul Ricard has brought a whole new level of shit to F1.
But last year's Paul Ricard was all right.
This is true.
So, yeah, I don't know. Like the Spanish Grand Prix it's all right. This one was particularly good.
I think this year's definitely all right.
Yeah, and I think if anything, it's testament to the fact that these new rules work.
Yep, 100%. That's my takeaway from this whole race.
Yeah, because they tested there, they've gone back there, and it still works. So,
nobody's found any major loopholes yet.
No, well, that's it. But what it made me think, I'm sure we'll talk about this a little bit later on when we go through the teams, but the battle that Max Verstappen had with George Russell, I think that shows we are almost to a situation where they can start toying with the idea of getting rid of DRS. Because he could still follow. I think if DRS wasn't an issue and it wasn't a thing that they spent a lot of time going, oh, it's not working. Why don't you try this? Why don't you try that? If he knew he didn't have DRS, it would have forced him to have to try and get past the old-fashioned way. And I don't think we're far away from that point where we'll be going. Do we still need this?
Well, haven't the cars been designed so that they can work with it as well as without it?
Well, yeah. The argument is that the cars have been designed, haven't they, aerodynamically, to incorporate DRS into it. But at the same time, if you just stop them from opening that flap, what are they going to do?
Yeah.
Have a closed flap.
We'll have a strop about having a closed flap.
the whole idea of having DRS this year was if the racing was dead good, they could have got rid of it, I think. But
it's in till 2026 DRS is in till officially.
So. Yeah.
I think it's officially, but with the proviso that they can remove it before then.
Well, possibly, but all you do is you just cut the DRS zones down, don't you? There's usually 2 at each race circuit, Maybe just have one short DRS zone if they think they still need it. But I think it is time for that conversation. DRS was given as a tool to get closer to the cars in front way back, like, Christ, when did they start using it? 2010? 2011? Something like that?
It was 2011 because McLaren had the F-duct in 2010.
Yeah, and that's what proceeded to make them think about DRS.
Yes.
So 2011. So we've had all the racing since then has had some kind of DRS, and it has been used as an overtaking tool. Sometimes it's not powerful enough. Sometimes it's too powerful. But that was in an era where cars weren't able to follow each other super closely because of turbulent air, etc. Too much over the top aerodynamics rather than what we've got now, which is a mixture of both over the top and a little bit of ground effect as well. Because of that, it's less. I mean, it's still prominent. It's still going to work when they use it, but is it still necessary? If they're going to get rid of it within 2 or 4 years, however long it's in for, then now is the time to open up that conversation.
But they can only open up the conversation if they're within a second of the conversation in front. I'll get me coat.
Oh dear!
Wow.
Yeah, you're right. Don't big this podcast up too much.
That was fucking something there.
So yeah, on the whole, I think we had we had a pretty good race.
It was decent, wasn't it?
Yeah, I've seen a lot more dull Spanish Grand Prix. I mean, it wasn't up to the excitement of 10 years ago.
He was there though, wasn't he? The winner from 10 years ago.
He was there. He was in the garage.
He did a video for their socials, thanking them for their support 10 years ago.
Okay. Thank you for your support all that time ago. Strange one. But...
I did hear a conspiracy theory last week, actually, about the garage fire after he won.
Burn the evidence?
Yes. It was started deliberately because that car wasn't 100% legal. And the win was...
Oh, come on. We can't do that to Pasta.
And the win was kind of gifted because it was Frank Williams' 70th birthday that week.
It answers some questions. It's not without merit.
If you
got to remember,
if you take away the word Williams and replace it with the word Ferrari, we wouldn't be questioning that would be a thing that could have happened. So
yeah, and if you take away all of it and say Pastor Maldonado beat Fernando Alonso at his home Grand Prix, it also puts it into perspective a little bit more as well.
But what you got to remember is with that particular race, did Pastor Maldonado not choose to run a ridiculously low amount of downforce, given that the Williams was quite draggy that year anyway, and he was easily the fastest car on the straight. So the only overtaking opportunity in F1 2012 would have been down that back straight, but no one could have caught him anyway. He had a really decent qualifying. I think he qualified third or fourth, and a car got a penalty, and then Hamilton got disqualified from qualifying, so he found himself on the front row, and that was it. He was. I think did he pass Fernando in the pit stops?
I don't know.
I think he might have done.
Yeah, I think he passed Fernando Alonso in the pit stops because I remember thinking, "Oh, cool, that's really funny." Fernando will get him back in a minute, and it just never happened.
I mean, to be perfectly honest, I'm going to go with that whole thing. He passed him in the pit lane because I don't want to live in a world where Fernando Alonso got passed on track by Pastor Maldonado. I simply don't want to exist.
Yeah, I don't remember an on-track pass. So I think it must have been in the pits.
In my head, Maldonado started from pole.
He started from pole. I thought he started from
he
second.
I'm sure
Maybe
he started from
start
pole.
Maybe.
He inherited it because of the Hamilton thing, but I'm sure he started from pole.
Right, let's...
We're going back 10 years. We could be hazy.
Let's have a look.
Yeah, you might be
Let's
absolutely
have a look.
spot
Let's
on. But,
Maldonado started... from pole.
Wow.
There you
Well, there's
go,
a
then.
useless bit of trivia I've held on to for 10 years.
Qualified second, but Lewis was disqualified because didn't have enough fuel left after qualifying.
Crazy time.
Wow, Narain Carter-Kayan was in that race.
Only by dint of the stewards letting him in, because he was outside 107% by nearly 3 seconds.
Jesus.
Oh my God!
Yeah, the cut-off time was 1:28.3. He got a 1:31.1.
Is that in an HRT?
Yes. Yeah, he was 3.5 seconds slower than Pedro de la Rosa in the other HRT,
Wow.
who hasn't aged.
No, he still looks 36. Don't know how old he is, but I think he looked 36 when he was 26. To be fair.
Apparently now he's 51. Good God, am I older than him?
I would guess so.
Well, I don't know. It's on Wikipedia. You know, you have to question these things.
Of course.
So yes, this year's Spanish Grand Prix to the teams. First up, winners of the Giovinazzi Participation Award, Williams. Sorry, actually, winners of a Giovinazzi Participation Award, for there are some this week.
Well, hang on a second. We did see Alex Albon pulling off overtakes, but I don't know if it was just strategy. But we didn't appear to see an awful lot of Williams on screen.
Albon did pull off some overtakes, but then kept having to go into the pits to change his tyres, and he actually finished last.
Did he not get a penalty
Yes.
as well?
There was a 5-second penalty for multiple off-tracks.
Uh-huh. That might be how he was doing the overtakes.
I'm going to say yes.
But it was just a thoroughly anonymous race, wasn't it? I don't particularly remember anything of them.
No, I don't actually think there was anything particularly notable or unnotable.
Latifi
I think the only
didn't
thing
crash.
notable is the fact that Albon didn't do anything, and we're kind of used to seeing Albon do something these days, aren't we?
Usually, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, let's have a
Yeah,
look.
there is that.
Yeah, a couple of seconds off the pace in Q1, and Albon didn't actually lose a place because of the penalty. He was 18th on track.
Oh, fair enough.
Yeah, it was. They were as anonymous as a blue and white Sauber.
Yes.
Don't think there's much more you can say. Haas promised so much.
Yeah, Magnussen looked like he was going to be on for a good day, didn't he? Until he had a little skirmish with the gravel. And yeah, just
Skirmish with the gravel.
And Lewis's tyre.
yes. Well, yes.
What was everyone standing on that? Because I've got to be honest, okay? At first I thought, oh no, what have they? That's unfortunate for both guys. Like, what happened there? And then I watched the replay and I went, oh, Magnussen just drove into Lewis Hamilton. But then the guys on this commentary were saying that Hamilton understeered into Magnussen. I was like, there was like most of the track to the left of them. I don't know why Magnussen chose to go that close to Lewis Hamilton.
It was just sort of lap one excitement, I think, wasn't it? It was.
Yeah, but there just appeared to be a lot of space that Magnussen chose not to drive into.
Yeah, it felt a bit like the.
I don't want to dunk on Magnussen again. He's done a great job since he came back, but
Yeah, but it felt a bit like Hamilton Verstappen at Silverstone, didn't it? That sort of incident, like utterly avoidable.
Yeah, totally avoidable.
yeah.
But yeah, very strange, very very strange. I thought anyway.
Yeah, I put it down to, I wouldn't say racing incident, but I think they were both equally to blame.
Yeah, just both. Yeah, a little bit overexcited at the start and not really thinking about the fact that they still had 60 odd laps to do after that.
Yeah, I mean, K-Mag got a good start, and that's why he was
Yeah.
up alongside Hamilton. Because it was front wheel to front wheel, and two cars aiming for exactly the same bit of track before the tyres have heated up properly. Yeah, it's never going to end well.
No.
And then Mick, gets into Q3 after sitting in the charred remains of a car,
Yes.
thinking he's going to get the points. He didn't get the points.
It was a strategy, though, wasn't it? Let's be honest. He was put on a 2-stop, and it looked really good, but then couldn't look after the tyres. And, no points again for Mick. It's coming, though, isn't it? Let's be honest. And if you'd said this time last year that Mick Schumacher might be on the verge of scoring points, you'd have been in a Haas, at least.
I think it's more the
somebody-
car, though, isn't it?
If somebody had said this time last year that Mick Schumacher would be the second highest Haas driver in the championship,
Yeah, that's that's fair as well, because, well, you wouldn't have expected anything that has happened to have happened.
no. And in F1 it usually does because it's if spelt backwards. Trying to get a double Murrayism in the same sentence never really goes well, does it?
No, I don't know. I'm not quite as positive on the old Mick Schumacher side of things. It's Magnussen's proved that car can go further up the grid, and he's desperately trying to scratch a point somewhere. Looks his way into Q3. I don't see any good news stories there. Even if he does manage to scratch himself a point somewhere, he's going to get clearly put in his box over the course of the season by Magnussen. And unfortunately, I think we're going to get we're going to have another seat in Formula One wasted until his name finally lets him down and someone decides that it's better to have a decent Formula One driver in the car than somebody that can sell hats.
Well, like Fernando.
Maybe.
I still think Mick is going to end up in Ferrari at some point.
Not a chance. More chance of me driving a Ferrari.
I think there is the issue as well is that they've got rid of a few, haven't they, at Ferrari in their drivers' academies. There's no one, I don't think, in F2 at the moment from Ferrari that would be like, hello, I need an F1 seat. So he is probably safe enough there for the time being.
He's safe enough there but I think to get into Ferrari, I just don't see it because they're not the team either. It's not like Red Bull that feel the need to promote from inside. The Ferrari are quite happy to leave their drivers out to starve while they try and go hunting for a world champion. I still think there's a chance Lewis Hamilton will drive a Ferrari before that.
Technically, they've still got Giovinazzi on the books.
Well, you never know.
He's the reserve driver, isn't he? Still,
I think he is officially. Yeah.
It could happen. We could get literally the second coming.
and it would be Jesus comes again. We all saw that bulge. That was ungodly.
Shall we just move on to Aston Martin, who I think deserve a participation award as well?
The Lime Red Bull.
Right.
Well, it's clearly not, is it?
Did you see Red Bull tweeting about drinking Green Edition all weekend?
Yeah. I'm not having this.
No, if they've copied it, they've clearly not done a very good job.
They copied it with crayons, didn't they?
Yeah, they have. They've looked at it. It's like a knockoff handbag. It might look the part from a distance, but it's clearly not as good.
Well, they had.
You look at the label and it says Gushy.
Yeah.
They had to open the vents on one side of the car, so they didn't expect it to be as hot as it is. So they just had to destroy all the aero balance on that car. So I actually think that low key, when you look at where Seb was running, I think it looks good for Aston Martin, considering they destroyed their car to make sure it didn't blow up.
Sorry, I'm a bit lost at how you thought.
Because
what looks good for
because
Aston Martin?
if Sebastian Vettel was running just outside the points, in a car that was massively aero compromised because they just couldn't run the race without drilling those. Did you see the extra vents they put in the car?
Yes.
I think when they use that car again, and they've got some more knowledge of it, and they can run it with an optimized aero package, which they haven't had to fucking cut into over the weekend. I think they're going to find themselves popping themselves back up into the upper midfield.
People in green uniforms have been seen rooting through Adrian Newey's bins this morning.
I'm not having the old pink, the old green Red Bull either, because I don't believe that. Like they said, they were building that since did they say November that car was in the wind tunnel?
Yeah.
They've hired some of Red Bull staff, so I get the IP thing. But I don't understand. I don't know how you can.
It's a similar concept, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know how you can how they can turn around and say, "Oh, well, that's our IP." Like, no, it's you've had a designer that used to work for you that thought it was a good idea, and lo and behold, when that designer went somewhere else, he still thinks his idea is a good idea. And this idea that they've turned around and said, "Oh, well, some of the bits on that car we only started running like a couple of races ago." Aston Martin didn't knock a Red Bull up in 4 weeks. It's not like they saw that and go, we should just go home and make that. But I just find it really weird, the whole green Red Bull thing.
Well, yeah, it's nowhere near as fast.
It is nowhere near as fast. But I think there's like positivity from that race for them.
Who did Stroll trip over? Was it Gasly?
I think it was. I mean, the cut to him backwards at one point, so we're expecting him and Latifi to come together because they were, they were nearly on the same piece of track a few times, but that would have been the ultimate Canada celebration.
I don't know that bringing just to counter Lee's point, not disagree, just to counter.
No, that's good.
It's
I can take it.
Politely disagree.
Yeah, absolutely.
With all due respect, and no offence intended,
bringing a B-spec car and getting no further results with it. Is essentially wiping the board clean and starting again after 6 races. It's hard to put a positive spin on that when everybody else is already 6 races down the road with development, when you're starting from point 1 again.
I think, like I say, if the temperature hadn't caught everybody else out and clearly caught them out the worst, I'd agree with you. But I think maybe next weekend we'll see something. We'll see something more of what that car's got to offer. I don't think it's going to be like pink Mercedes level, because that wasn't even stealing somebody's IP. That was an agreement. They were just given the plans for that. But yeah,
they weren't. But
they kind of were.
No, because we had Scarbs on, if you remember, after the pink Mercedes thing, and he said the aero planes at the top, the outer skin of that car is very, very similar, if not almost identical to the Mercedes.
Yeah.
But underneath, it's still very much the Force India Racing Point, whatever you want to call it. It's just a top level skin that they changed.
I mean, that's the thing, though. I mean, the teams do get accused of ripping off others if they switch mid-season to a similar aero concept. Again with the Aston Martin, what's going on under the carbon fibre maybe, or out of sight, maybe completely and utterly different. And judging by the performance, I think what was going on under there was fan heaters.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? Red Bull didn't have a cooling issue as far as we were aware. Mercedes, I think, did a little bit. Maybe it's a power unit thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean that was sort of from about 2/3 in with Mercedes, wasn't it? When George was saying, "Are these cool car warnings serious?"
That was that was much earlier in the race, I think. But then, the last couple of laps, apparently they had a water leak, both of them. But we'll get onto that later on. But yeah, power unit wise, it could have been the fact that Aston Martin run Mercedes power units. But also, don't forget that Red Bull will cool their, even though the aero surfaces might be quite similar. Like I said, if they've copied it with a crayon. So the even though the aero surfaces might be quite similar, they've the internal cooling is going to be totally different.
Mm-hmm.
So if they're still using the internal cooling for their old shaped car, the one they brought with them for the first few races, might not be adequate enough for what they need in this shaped car.
Yeah, we'll. I think we'll probably see something different or something that works for them in Baku. There's no point bringing upgrades to Monaco.
No. They'll probably all put old engines back in for Monaco and everything. So.
Mm-hmm.
Right, next up, AlphaTauri. A non-Yuki day for Yuki.
Yeah, he did all right, didn't he? Very anonymous,
he did
but
okay.
got the job done.
He did all right, but I'm gonna say something about AlphaTauri here
Oh.
that might not prove very popular.
Oh.
I think they have got the worst car on the grid.
I thought you were going to say I think they sell reasonably priced clothes for their fashion brand.
That would be a lie. I think AlphaTauri have got the worst car on the grid. It often suffers from reliability problems.
Mm-hmm.
The porpoising, everybody concentrated on how bad the porpoising was with Mercedes, but now they've kind of cut the edge off that over the last two races. It's really obvious how bad AlphaTauri is porpoising, and they don't have any answer for it. Ferrari has sort of dialed it out a little bit on their car. Alpine totally dialed it out. There doesn't appear to porpoise at all whatsoever. Same with McLaren. And AlphaTauri have gone backwards this year, completely backwards.
And we've heard nothing from them in regard to development or making fixes on it.
Mm-hmm. I think as well where they're sort of struggling at the moment is we haven't had a huge number of sort of super Gasly performances, which maybe flattered last year's car a bit. While I think at the same point we're thinking like, oh, Yuki Tsunoda, isn't he quite right? Whereas this year they're a bit closer together, but Gasly has come backwards to Tsunoda rather than Tsunoda has caught Gasly.
Yeah. It's it just seems very odd how we know Pierre Gasly is one of the most sought after drivers, and we don't really know Yuki Tsunoda because he's such a firecracker. He can be on it one week and then not on it the next.
That could either be pace or gravel.
Yeah, exactly. You can't measure. I think it's very difficult to measure where that AlphaTauri is, and purely on what's happening to Pierre Gasly lately, I think it's a very poor car.
I mean, he certainly didn't get a great deal out of it this week. I mean, all right, I think he lost a place when he tripped over Stroll. Or Stroll tripped over him, or they tripped over each other.
Well, he did the tripping.
He
He got a
couple
penalty
places,
for it.
didn't
Yeah, he lost places and he got a penalty. He was at fault.
Because don't forget, when the director cuts to Stroll, it's only after the event, whatever the event may be.
No, it's during the event that we might see. But oh my God, this looks like it might be an overtake. Cut to Lance Stroll going over a curb.
I mean, there's not much more you can say about AlphaTauri's performance again this week because they participated. There's a lot of these participation awards going out. We're running out of fake clip-on ponytails to present.
Is that the participation award?
It's either a clip-on ponytail or a clip-on man bun, depending on how Giovinazzi has his hair on a particular weekend when he's being reserve driver.
He usually has it down, doesn't he, as a reserve driver?
I think he does normally have it down when it's not going under a helmet.
Oh no, there's been man bun sightings this season in the garage.
I have not personally sighted the man bun.
Usually gets covered up by a hat. Right, McLaren. Lee, do you want to do your weekly? Ricciardo's finished.
He is, though, isn't he?
It's not going well for him.
It doesn't.
To say that he couldn't compete with someone who's like dying of tonsillitis, it's not ideal.
And apparently, according to those who had access to McLaren's team radio during the race, and I'm sure some listeners will be those people, was violently sick during the race.
In his helmet.
Yeah, where
Beautiful.
his team offered to him to retire. He just did not respond and carried on racing.
Possibly because he had chunks of vomit in his radio.
I suppose someone's got to score the points for them. Daddy's got to bring it home.
I mean, I've had tonsillitis before. I've never thrown up with it.
I suppose you've got to think how hot it was. You're dehydrated. You're a bit fevery anyway.
Yeah.
You do about
You're-
6G
Yeah,
now and
you're
again.
porpoising. Yeah, I can understand if he's had some meds and whatnot. It might have all just churned into a wonderful concoction.
We were told that he wasn't on the driver parade, but he was.
I
He
know.
was sat under an umbrella at the front of the truck.
Yeah.
He was mistaken for an umbrella.
No, have you not seen the picture of
I
Lando
have
on the...
not.
Lando Norris is on the driver parade
Just
after they announced
hiding.
on TV that he was missing from the driver parade. He just sat on the floor underneath an umbrella for the whole parade. If you go on Twitter, you'll find it.
I will have a look for this. I'm amused.
I'll have a look for that one and share that if possible. But yeah, on the non-sick side of the garage, hang on, we're talking about chundering, then we're moving on to an Australian. There's something wrong with the universe.
I guess so, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, Ricardo, it's not looking great. Have you found Lando and his brolly?
I haven't. Twitter is not.
He is very
forthcoming.
well hidden. Very hard to see him.
I searched specifically for Lando Norris umbrella, and it was just a picture of him carrying his umbrella. I will try driver parade.
Oh, is it like that Twitter account that there is no cat in this image?
That's a great Twitter account, by the way. I would highly recommend it. I can't find him.
But yeah, Danny is just not. I mean, this is the first year at Renault all over again, but I think it's a bit worse.
Well, yeah, because it's not his first year. This is a team
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
should be slightly comfier with by now.
Yeah, it's his second year. And he's moving. Every race seems to be like a false dawn for him. Like, yeah, Danny Ricciardo. And then as the race goes on, it's like, oh, Danny Ricciardo. And then at the end of the race, you just, I don't know. He didn't seem too downcast, though, did he, about everything?
But that's almost worrying, isn't it? If
Yeah.
he's not asked that he's finishing behind someone who probably shouldn't have really been in the car.
It's not just that. It's not like he just finished behind him either.
Yeah, he wasn't. He went backwards.
Yeah, there was another 3 cars between them.
I don't think
Yeah.
there was any sort of shenanigans, as far as I know. I don't think he got punted or anything. He went backwards. I have now found the picture of Lando Norris. If I didn't know better, I would say he was hanging.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a real
Looks
like
like-
no one is to talk to me now. Thank you.
There is a Lando in this image.
Allegedly, the only driver to check on him through the parade was Lewis Hamilton.
Yeah, in the photo I've got, Lewis is sort of hovering in the background, like, should I go and see if he's dead?
Yeah, like, you okay, mate? Are you all right down there?
No, I didn't know about the about the thrown up in the helmet. That is impressive. That's possibly driver of the day
Again, that's-
material.
That's unconfirmed and only through social media. But I don't have access to McLaren's radio during races. If anyone does, perhaps they can put it in a little bit more context for us. I'd like that.
I think the context was sort of raw sounding.
Yeah, do you remember Mark Webber when he threw up in his helmet on team radio? Does anybody remember that?
I don't know.
I do not. You seem to have
Yeah.
a real knack for finding out about the vomit.
Yeah, Mark Webber was sick in his helmet once. James Hunt famously every race.
That's because James Hunt used to have a hangover and eat foie gras before every race.
That might be what it is. Yeah. He turned up.
I've
He
read-
did turn up hanging.
Yeah, I've read the official biography, and there's a lot of mention of hangovers, foie gras, and bath in that.
Is that the Shunt?
Yes,
Yeah, I've got that. It's a good book, isn't it?
it is. Yeah, well worth a read. If
Yeah.
if you haven't read it, it's James Hunt. I think you can say was definitely of his time.
Yes, that's a polite way of saying it.
But that was back in the days when at least one, if not more, of the grid wouldn't live to see the end of the season. So I think they had a more cavalier attitude to, well, everything.
Yeah, 4 was it? On average, 4 died every year or something.
It was something ridiculously high like that. Obviously, in the safer days, they do take the health a lot more seriously now, and we're about to get a sponsor that's even of some health supplement that's even endorsed by Lewis Hamilton.
Oh, no, don't tell everyone it's endorsed by Lewis Hamilton. Because now we will be accused of being Lewis Hamilton fanboys and girls.
we get it anyway.
While we're on Hamilton, what do you think is going to happen about him and his nose ring?
Because is it Monaco? It's Monaco. He's got to get it out by, isn't it?
Yeah, I think if he doesn't take it out, he's going to be told he can't race. It's the only option because they've said it's on safety grounds.
I agree. I heard, was it Alex Wirtz? I think it was Alex Wirtz, and he said, "Look, it's in case of there's a fire or something in the car, and we got to the safety guys have got to get somebody out of the car. You don't want to be dealing with melting metal on your face."
Yeah.
Jenson Button was talking about this when he was in the commentary in Miami for one of the practice sessions, I think it was. And he was saying that, because of course underwear is another thing they've cracked down on. You can't have cotton underwear because it melts wrong or something. But he was saying it would never have occurred to him to break that rule in case there is a fire, and what happens if it does all basically catch fire.
Yeah,
if you're wearing cotton underwear and it catches fire,
don't want to burn your balls off.
No.
I find it really strange.
Twisted scrotum is not a nickname you want, really.
No. But the amount of support, I suppose it's a Lewis Hamilton thing, isn't it? So there's that group of fans that more so than other drivers, I think, where they seem to think the man can do no wrong. But I don't get it. I don't even get what the argument is. You've got these rules are there; they're put in place. You're taking part in that game, so those rules are the rules of the game that you're taking part in. I don't understand why Lewis Hamilton thinks he's special enough to make the exception for.
Well, the rules have always been there. It's just that they've never been enforced before, and I think that's what it's kicking off about is the whole "why now" thing.
Grosjean catching fire is why now.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's the thing.
It's the same thing as when Senna died. Senna died, and then there was a raft of safety things brought in. We were lucky that this time that it didn't end in the death of a driver. So it's just where we are now. I find it really weird that it's for the sake of a fucking nose stud.
But isn't Lewis's argument as well something along the lines of those who are married are allowed to wear their wedding rings?
I'm not sure. I don't know if people can wear wedding rings.
Yeah, I think that's part of his argument. I think
Grosjean was wearing his ring when he crashed because it burnt the finger it was on quite badly.
Mm-hmm.
You did,
which again is possibly an advert for maybe not wearing it while you're racing.
Yeah.
What if God forbid this happens, but what if a driver is, as a protest, wearing all the chains and the rings in the car, and a Grosjean thing happens, and that's that could be, it could cause a severe injury that prolongs the pain, should we say? That's all I'm gonna say. I don't want to tempt any fate.
I think the other thing to remember is in other sports, people wear those black silicone wedding bands now, don't they? In case anything untoward goes on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you've still got the band on for reasons, but actually it's not going to be a bigger problem as a chunk of metal.
Yeah,
I did read something that ceramic jewellery's allowed.
Is it? Why?
It doesn't melt.
Okay.
Heat proof.
Fair enough.
No, but it will melt your skin if it's hot.
It'll burn if it gets hot. That is a fair point.
So, ceramic might be heat proof, but if anybody has taken a bowl of soup out of a microwave before when the hob's not been working, they know that it gets warm.
Yeah.
Really warm.
Yeah, but
what do you think? Do you think you'll back down on it, or do you think this is going to go on?
I don't. I genuinely don't know. Because if they back down on it, then everyone else gets to start wearing the wrong pants and whatever jewellery again. You
Vettel
can't.
puts his undies on back under his
you can't. You
overalls.
can't make an exception for one driver.
Come on, though. How funny would it be if Vettel did wear his underwear outside of his race suit because there is no rule saying that he can't.
I'm waiting for him to turn up with a special helmet in the design of a pair of pants.
But then finishes on the podium in Monaco, and we have one of those weird podiums again where Vettel is stood there with like his fucking underpants on the outside of his race suit.
To be fair, I would quite enjoy that. That would be quite entertaining. Silly Monaco podiums are always good.
Oh, always, yeah. David Coulthard, as we remind everybody every year.
Trying to look respectful.
The embarrassed
superhero.
Superman.
Who then had to give his cape of shame to Christian Horner so he could jump in the swimming pool naked.
His cape of shame.
Cape
I like
of
that.
shame is a wonderful phrase.
Somewhere on our website there is that Monaco Memories page that I did a few years back, and it's still got the picture on that. I'll find the link and tweet that out. Because that was
good idea.
That was just quality. Back to the more recent past. Alpine,
Oh yes.
because they were
All right,
They were
not
a
bad.
thing. They were a thing.
Yeah, Alonso made more places up in the race than anyone else, I think, given his starting position. I mean, obviously not including what happened further up the field. Great race for Alonso. Ocon did well, but then sort of faded away. I thought Ocon was running like fourth at one point, and I thought, you know what? If the shit hits the fan here, Ocon's on for a podium.
Did Ocon two-stop?
I think he might have done.
I think that might be where it's
anyone who
petered
two-stopped
off.
did fall backwards.
Yeah.
And we didn't see the hard tyre. I was surprised at that as well. Why nobody went for the hard tyre.
Apparently, it was an absolute sack of cack.
It's the technical term, is it?
Yes.
I can
no,
see that now in the Mercedes debrief.
Ocon did.
Yeah.
Ocon did three stop.
Tis a sack of cack.
I think that.
Sorry, Lewis. No, we didn't. We definitely didn't use the hard tyre because it's a sack of cack.
Yeah, okay, Mr. Dennis. Thanks very much.
So yeah, Ocon did three stop, but his last two stops were both for used softs.
Oh, apparently Magnussen used a hard tyre.
Oh, he did.
Magnussen,
Yes.
where did he finish?
Towards the
17th.
arse end after tripping over Hamilton.
Yeah, he made no space. Did he damage his car quite badly?
Probably. It's not going to have done it any favours, is it?
Yeah, let's have a look. What was his fastest lap? Should have all these preloaded up. He was the 17th fastest lap.
It was a 17th position.
Yeah, his fastest lap was 3 seconds slower than Checo's. Actually, nearly 3.5. I think there was damage.
Yes.
Actually, Vettel was well off the pace as well, looking at it. Must have been the cooling, because he only did a 1:27.6. That was slower than K-Mag.
Wow.
That his fastest lap of the race?
Yeah.
Blimey.
A 1:27.6. And what was the fastest lap? A 1:24?
1:24.1.
Yeah. Interesting.
So, yeah, Ocon. Yes, he did. He did three stop, but I think it may have been down to the used tyres that he ran for the last two stints that just didn't have the pace.
Quite possibly. He did fall away. Like I said, he started off strongly, but then he did sort of fall away. And Alonso, just very quietly. Alonso was the quiet Spaniard this week. He did the Carlos Sainz thing of keep your head down and get on with it. He must have stolen that from Carlos Sainz, because Carlos Sainz appears to have forgotten how to do that.
It's not his style, is it, this year?
No, his style is, oh fuck, how do I recover from this?
At least Carlos made lap 2 this time.
Yes, yeah.
You know, baby steps. But yeah, I think Ocon was sort of pushing on maybe on the verge of a podium if things had sort of worked out differently. But then
Yeah, he was running fourth, as I say. You know, when when things had gone all a bit. I think it was just after things had gone really wrong for Ferrari. Sainz was a bit further down the order, and Leclerc was no longer in the race. I think that's when we saw Ocon in fourth. I think behind the double Red Bull Russell thing before the others came back at Ocon.
Yeah, let's have a look. I'm just trying to follow.
The graphic will be quite obvious because Leclerc will fall off the earth.
Yes, and
Yeah.
I am looking at the graphic. He appears to have been fifth just after Leclerc. Oh, hang on, I can't count.
Yeah, he got as high as fifth, and then
Fifth, was it?
yeah.
Behind the Red Bulls, Bottas, and Russell.
Okay, there we go. So it looked all right for him for a while, but then it very quickly didn't. I think that Alpine is an upgrade, and I don't mean a big upgrade. I think it's like an upgrade away from like joining, like the
It's getting
fifth.
there, isn't it?
Yeah,
The Alpha. It's an upgrade away from Alpha, maybe.
Yeah.
an upgrade away from Bottas. Let's be fair.
Yes.
Yeah. What do you think about the Piastri problem they've got?
They've got to do something with him, haven't they?
Do you think maybe they've got brought buyer's remorse in signing Ocon for so long now?
Possibly.
It's one of those that's really hard to tell because Ocon's doing all right, but they need to do something with Piastri.
But Piastri might be quite good.
Yeah,
Really quite good. And having him sat about doing fuck all for a year isn't helping anyone.
I think they lose him if they don't put him in the
They
car
will.
next
They will. I
year.
mean, Williams have apparently been sniffing.
and maybe as soon as this season.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure I read somewhere that they were going to make a decision on Piastri by July as to whether or not they place him somewhere or they let him go. And
Silverstone rings a bell. I think they said they'd make a decision before Silverstone. I mean, I suppose it depends what they've got. What they've got with Ocon. I think. Would you really get rid of Alonso? I know the points aren't there for him at the minute, but I don't think the points really tell the tale of.
He's had the shitty end of reliability, hasn't he?
Yeah. And if let's say if Piastri is sort of Max Verstappen, George Russell, Lando Norris, Charles Leclerc sort of level of driver, it would be good, surely, wouldn't it, to have him in next to Alonso for the last 2 years of Alonso's career?
In theory, yes. This is Alonso who still has more penalty points than points even after this week.
I know.
Oh
it's
wow,
crazy.
really?
Jesus. I mean, it didn't.
He's got 4 points, hasn't he?
He's got 4 points, but he's got considerably more penalty points.
Heck.
Yeah, insane.
He's got. It worked out all right for McLaren, though, didn't it? When Alonso left, they brought in Norris. He seemed to get on all right with. It's one of those you don't know until you try it. I think you can plan a million different things, and until actually people are in cars, you don't know.
I think it depends, doesn't it? Obviously, our plan hasn't worked this year.
No.
And we with that team as well. We've constantly been going on about what happens if they produce a good car, and if they'll produce a good car, and it never actually happens.
They will clearly do it the year Alonso goes, because that's just how it works for him.
Yeah, it's just how it works for him. But I think even on the Alpine side of it, if you do happen, so let's say they've got something in the pipeline that they think is going to be particularly good next year, what's the point of producing a really good car if you've got Ocon and a rookie in it? If you produced a really good car, you would want a more known quantity that might make that car maybe go 10th quicker than it can do.
So it depends how good they think Piastri is. The rookie might do it.
Oh, could do, yeah. Maybe you never know. But it's unusual unless he is, unless he's that good. I mean, he's won everything else he's been involved in, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's one of these. He seems to, as he has moved up series, every time he's moved up a level, he's settled quicker. It's very strange. He seems to adapt even better when the car gets harder and faster and whatnot.
Like a Damon Hill, I think it was a Virtual Statman who said that he just got quicker the more horsepower you gave him. So in like lower formula, he wasn't that great, but they gave him a more powerful car because Graham Hill's son, and he was okay at that. So they gave him a bit more horsepower, and he's getting better. And then Formula One, he was pretty good. So.
Yeah, managed to get that crap all over Brabham into the British Grand Prix when qualifying actually meant you had to try and qualify.
Yep. Yeah.
I think you put Lewis, can't you, in that bracket as well? He's just every time he moved up, he just got better and grew more and more and more.
Yeah.
Fanboy again.
You can raise a drink to him in 4 shows time.
Why 4 shows time?
That's when the new sponsor deal starts.
Raise a
right, yeah,
healthy drink.
Healthy drink.
Yeah,
we're not
healthy drink.
We're not saying which healthy drink because we've still got 4 weeks.
They haven't
for the
paid for it yet.
Yeah, other healthy drinks can still get in touch for 4 more weeks.
No, Rich Energy, not you.
That's not a healthy drink.
That barely qualifies as a drink.
Oh, we're gonna seem so bad all of a sudden if like Coke come in and offer us a load of money in like 4 weeks down the line. Yeah, try Coca-Cola. It doesn't clean jewelry as well.
I'll stick to me blackcurrant squash for now. Right, Ferrari. No, Alfa Romeo.
Steady.
I'm jumping ahead. I'd scrolled too far.
It's a dual binary result.
It is
for the next 2 teams.
Anyone see what caused Joe's retirement? Because 1 minute we're watching the race, and the next minute we're watching Joe walking through the garage, and it's like, oh, he's retired. What happened? Don't know.
I can't remember.
Got
I
bored.
did.
Interest from the public.
There was, in fairness, a legitimate mechanical reason, but my interest as a member of the public did not retain itself long enough that I can remember what the fuck that was. So it broke. It broke.
Yeah, something went wrong. What, was it the Ferrari engine?
I'm trying to remember.
I think it's cooling.
But
I think I don't care. Is he? I mean, he's a bit of a letdown, isn't he?
We don't know because we've barely seen him bloody running. He's had a couple of these now.
He's had a lot of problems in the car. Either he's put it in the wall, which is I think Imola was perhaps the only time it was his fault, or he's retired through mechanical failure.
I mean, the last 2 races were early retirements. Imola, it went in the wall, finished 15th. He's gradually getting worse because he started out with a 10th in Bahrain, then 2 11ths, then a 15th, and 2 retirements. What's next? Out in Q3.
Q3?
Yeah, he destroys the car in Q3 and doesn't actually get to start.
He's getting to Q3 though. Jesus,
if Bottas can do it.
Charles Leclerc does it in Monaco. We've just got to wait for that.
Bottas is pretty good around Monaco, isn't he? I think
so.
I think he might fucking upset a few people in that Alfa Romeo this week.
General consensus seems to be that Zhou was just power unit shitting itself.
Possibly a bit like the Leclerc one, because that was the MGUH and the turbo that both went on him.
Well, that's very helpful from a parts point of view, isn't it, to lose both of them?
Yeah, there's going to be penalties sooner rather than later at this rate. But as far as Bottas goes, once again gets passed by a Mercedes in a very odd way because he appeared to slow down and let Lewis through.
I think he knew it wasn't his race, didn't
he? Either that was just muscle memory.
He's got the ghost of James playing in his headset.
I've done it again. Damn it.
But I think he's getting a lot more out of the Alfa Romeo than I thought, because I honestly didn't think Alfa would be able to take a big step. Now I think maybe it could be that the car was there last year and the car's definitely there this year, and we're seeing what it can do. Last year we had a participating Giovinazzi and a barely phoning it in Kimi.
I think if that car was as good as this one is, I think Kimi would have done more. The reason he was phoning it in is because he was sick of being where he was. I think. I'd argue that they'd be better off right now with Kimi and Bottas in the car.
Team Finland.
It wouldn't be a particularly chatty combo, though, would it?
No, I don't think they like each other either, do they?
No, I don't think they do. I think they've driven into each other possibly once too often.
Yeah.
They did it, didn't they? As when Kimi was at Ferrari, I think, and I think Bottas and Kimi came together a few times. Was that a distance sneeze from Paul?
I think it was Lee.
It was Lee.
Yeah, sorry about that. Compared to Kimi Räikkönen, Bottas is a borderline extrovert.
Yeah, you can usually get 3 words out of him a weekend.
Traditions.
But yeah, I think Bottas is getting a real good amount out of that car, and
it's consistent as well, isn't it? It's not just that it's always had a couple of good results here and there. He's been kind of solidly mid points.
Yeah,
he saved his career, hasn't he? Yeah, I mean, if you've got the connection there with Ferrari and Sainz keeps smashing cars up.
Yeah, I said this last year, didn't I? You know, because I think Leclerc, Sainz, even if they, and we'll get onto Ferrari in a bit, but I think that car is. I think even though they had a shit weekend, they've actually had a really positive weekend at the same time. I think that the Leclerc Sainz team cannot survive. Either one of them is going to show the other one up, which is currently happening, or if they're close enough on track to be fighting each other, they're going to fall out that way and not help the team, which is going to damage Ferrari in the long run. So, like Sean said before,
but Ferrari are good at doing that to themselves.
Yeah, but like Sean said before, there's not a lot of drivers in that Ferrari academy lining up ready to go. Yes, they've got Giovinazzi and things, but let's be honest, if Carlos Sainz goes mid-season, and I'm not saying he's going to go mid-season, I'm fairly sure he's going to, they signed him to the end of 2024. But if Carlos Sainz were to disappear at some point before that, do you look at Alfa Romeo and say, Valtteri Bottas did an all right job for Mercedes as a number 2. We were 1-2. They were 1-2 every weekend almost. When apart from that final season.
I'm just looking at the Ferrari Academy, and it's sparse.
Yeah, I think Bottas would be a good shout, and I think that's probably in Bottas's mind. He's thinking, well, I'm doing a lot better here than the guy in the other Ferrari. So can somebody please give me give me some credit, please?
To whom it may concern.
Yeah. To whom it may concern, vroom, vroom.
That's still the cringiest thing I've ever seen in Formula One. And that involves, sexy Coulthard, when he's trying to be a bit laddie and stuff.
What about Kimi's race engineer when he won Abu Dhabi? The leave me alone, I know what I'm doing race. The race engineer, after Kimi Räikkönen won the race, he was like, yes, Kimi, woo! It was like the least enthusiastic woo you've ever heard.
To be fair, I don't think an over-enthusiastic woo would land with Kimi.
No, totally. Well, yeah, it was under-enthusiastic woo. It was just like, oh, come on, put some effort into it.
Should we do Ferrari now?
Yeah,
because they are next. So bits of Leclerc's engine keep falling off. Yeah, turbo and MGUH. I don't have a
Is that what failed?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And it looks like neither of them are repairable, so I think he's going to be onto the third of each.
Yeah, because that was a new one in Miami, wasn't it? Didn't they say?
Yeah. So come Canada, because like you say, Monaco's going to be old parts.
Throw whatever you've got in it, yeah.
Double DNF.
Double
What,
DNF.
Canada?
Ferrari. No Ferrari this
Yeah,
weekend.
In Monaco.
Yeah.
You got to start first to have a DNF.
I think that's fair. Yeah, I think.
I'm being a bit harsh, I think, on Charlie Leck. But
No, well, he hasn't finished a motor race around Monaco ever.
no, but I think he may have gotten it out of the way with smashing up Lauda's Ferrari.
I'm not sure that's how crashes or confidence work.
Particularly
how luck
given
works.
just how widely it was shared on social as well. That won't have done him any
Right,
favours.
he did better than last year because he binned it at Rascasse. Last year he binned it in the swimming pool.
Yeah, but he wouldn't have had to have qualified for this one. It's meant to be a showpiece, take a poodle round, wave at the fans, and don't make a mess.
He must have the record for that, mustn't he? Like a man that's crashed cars from such a big span of generations around Monaco. That has to be a record.
No, I think Johnny Cecotto Jr. holds that, and that was in his current F2 career, or GP2, because it was that long.
How old's Johnny Cecotto now?
A million years old.
I'm gonna go for about 40, surely.
I don't know if
Surely
he's
not.
quite that old. I would go mid-30s.
Right, let's have a look. Johnny Cecotto, 32, younger than I thought.
Wow.
He was just there for seemingly ever.
His career really took off, didn't
His car took off a few times, I think.
it?
Yeah, he was in GP2 and F2 from 2009 to 2017.
Cool.
It'll be a shame though if Charles Leclerc does DNF in Monaco, and if he doesn't win the race, really, because I think if he DNFs this weekend, that's championship over for him.
Hard to say. We're only just a quarter of the way through this championship.
I
but-
just don't believe he can make that amount of points back up on Max Verstappen.
Well, yeah, as I was going to say about Ferrari, we've moved on from Ferrari now, I guess, and talking about them. But the Ferrari's upgrades that they brought to Spain were sort of, they didn't look very good on Friday. They looked like the race pace was a bit shit. Clearly not the case at all whatsoever in the long runs. Okay, Sainz binned it and then had to climb back up to a fairly good position, but he did it on good pace. And Leclerc was leading by quite a way when his car broke down. Yeah, okay, that was because Max Verstappen was stuck behind George Russell for a bit, but the race pace of those cars looks good.
But I've got here from, I think this is hot lap mode. Leclerc was around 0.21% faster than Verstappen over the first 26 laps until his engine went foom. So he definitely had the pace, and
Yeah.
Verstappen wasn't stuck behind Russell for all that time.
No, it wasn't stuck behind for the whole time. No, you're quite right. It was. It looks good going forward that Ferrari aren't just falling behind Red Bull as it looked, in Miami. Okay, well, yeah, the Red Bull's clearly faster in a straight line. We saw it in Saudi Arabia. We've seen it again in Miami. So anywhere where there's a straight line, which is most racetracks, Red Bull's going to easily be able to either hold off the Ferrari or overtake the Ferrari. But it does look like Ferrari do have answers.
Tired egg. That's what we didn't learn from this weekend, though, with Ferrari. Because in practice they were fucking chewing tires up. And
yes, there was a tweet from Chris Medland. He quoted Leclerc saying, "My tyres are in pieces. Don't know if the next line was 'This is my last resort.'"
Very good.
So yes, the tyres were a little bit crappy on Friday.
But I mean, Red Bull didn't seem to have a lot of problems with them. That's where I mean, it could come down to which I mean, it has every race this year, hasn't it? Where Red Bull have been on top of Ferrari in race pace. It's Ferrari have had that one lap pace on them, but come the race, the Red Bull have had a better Sunday car.
Yeah, which is why I think is sort of swinging around the other. Well, not swinging around the other way, but I think Ferrari are at least on level terms, as that Paul read out before pointed out, perhaps slightly ahead.
Yeah, I over the course of the race, I don't think we've got a proper read on it, do we?
But yeah, but it looks good. It looks, that's what I mean. It looks good going forward. That it's.
Well, Red Bull trolled the entire world with how to keep their tyres going by saying to Perez that they were doing a one-stop. And then George Russell's reaction to being told that.
Two-stopper, wasn't it? I think they said.
No,
They said one
They
stop.
said one stop.
Did they?
Yeah.
One stopping.
Yeah, blimey. In the end...
The most British response ever.
Yeah. Gosh.
Yeah, in the end, he stopped 3 times. But yeah, we don't...
That's all
we
he
don't
had to do, though, wasn't it?
yeah. We don't know what Red Bull are like on tyres because they keep stopping and changing them. Sainz... Yeah, he should have been quicker.
Well, he was
Yeah.
quick though,
Quicker.
wasn't he? He recovered well after his spin.
Yeah,
The spin was the problem.
yeah. Yeah, there was definitely something on turn 3 because I think it was within a couple of laps of each other.
The
was
Verstappen,
wind.
yeah, the Verstappen spin definitely was blamed on wind.
Tailwind. Because it was a headwind going into turn 1, so it was a tailwind going into turn 3. Because that's the highest part of the circuit, it was apparently quite gusty. So it caught those two out. I think did it catch Magnussen out as well? Or somebody? Somebody got caught out by it as well. A third driver who didn't matter as much, let's be honest.
Might have been Mick. I've got a vague memory of something red and white going off.
Yeah, it might have been.
Magnussen did go off, didn't he? But he had a Mercedes to help him along.
Yeah.
Yeah, someone else will have gone wide. Can't remember who.
Yeah, I think Sainz does need to get back into his podiuming ways. Podiuming. Then again, if you can have winningest as a word, you can have podiuming, can't you? But yeah,
I don't know what the fix is for Carlos Sainz. I really don't, but it can't be that far away, surely.
We say that we've been saying this every race so far, haven't we?
I mean, let's have a look. So far this season, a second, a third, 2 retirements, a third, and a fourth. Ferrari would have killed for that last year for their second highest placed driver.
I think the thing is, but this is the thing. If you'd have told Carlos Sainz at the beginning of the Grand Prix that Leclerc wasn't going to finish the race and Max Verstappen was going to slide off the track, Carlos would have gone, "Oh right, I'm going to win a Grand Prix." He'd already fucked it and then couldn't capitalize on it.
Yeah, the other car was, until it broke, on for like a dead cert win. The exact same car he has in theory, and yeah, he wasn't there.
Do you think there's something with him where there's just something he's not getting on with the Ferrari? Like that's because he's looking a bit Vettel, isn't he? Vettel Ferrari at the minute. Do you think there's something where he's got to keep up with, or to try and keep up with Charles Leclerc and Max Verstappen? He's got to be so on the edge at all times, just a little wobble either way, and that's it. There's no headroom, because that's the thing. We watch these guys. We want them to be racing sort of as quick as they can possibly go every single lap, but everyone knows it's not how you drive a racing car. You've got to drive it within yourself. Do we think is he just trying to push for that extra little bit that he doesn't have?
It does have a sort of overdriving whiff about it.
I think it'll disappear when he gets his first win, and he might luck into that. Just getting that, I think that's probably the pressure on him at the moment, isn't it? Like, we've got Charles Leclerc, who's got 5, 6 wins under his belt. I don't know, can't remember how many it is. And Carlos has got none, and is trying to prove that he's as good, if not better, than Charles. But it's not working out.
No, I hope it does work out for him. I mean, he's completely proved me wrong this year, because I thought Carlos Sainz would just naturally have the edge on Charles Leclerc. I thought he would be either right next to him or slightly quicker than him.
Do you know what? I think Carlos has actually got the potential to be the next Mika Hakkinen. And this all comes from get the first win and become pretty much unstoppable.
And it just flows.
Yeah.
Maybe. I'm not. I wouldn't be putting loads of money on it. Not like Drake. Did anyone see that?
No, what's Drake done?
Drake had 124 grand on Charles Leclerc to win the race.
Well, that was a good use of money, wasn't it? That went well for him. Now
Hang on,
he doesn't.
We're talking 124,000 Canadian dollars, which is about
17 pounds. But yeah, apparently so. Drake had a flutter and it didn't work.
So,
no, it did not.
Why is he not showing Canadian solidarity and backing the boys?
Because he knows he'd lose his money instantly.
That's a boot right. Right, Mercedes. Another podium for George, and
nosebleed territory.
Yeah, his second, third place of the season. His third podium overall, and his second one won in a race.
He was pretty flawless, wasn't he, for what he had to do?
Yeah, I got a message off friend of the podcast, Matt Steele, earlier saying watching the race now. He's on holiday, so he didn't get a chance to watch it yesterday because F1 TV doesn't work in Italy. Russell is one of the most precise drivers I've ever seen, like Jim Clark precise.
Whoa,
that's high praise.
Okay.
Maybe. Tell my man to go get himself a VPN, then he can use F1 TV in Italy.
He tried. He couldn't get one sorted out quick enough. It was in a hotel with crappy Wi-Fi.
Balls.
It was quite telling, I thought, after the race when when we had the cutting out audio from the room before the podium, and they were watching the replays of the race, and Max and George were talking, and Max said, "Oh yeah, this bit, like when it looked like he'd slipped past George Russell, and Russell ran deliberately wide with a little bit more speed and stayed ahead of Max, but it was like super close to like having like some kind of accident which would have ended one or both of their races." And Max went, "Oh yeah, this bit, I really enjoyed this."
I saw that. That was good. Yeah.
So he clearly didn't think it was anything unfair or it was fantastic defending from George Russell. I don't know that I think they said it on TV as well at the time. We've not really seen George Russell fighting anybody. He's had some really impressive results, but we've not really seen him battling. We've not really seen him battling Carlos Sainz. We haven't really seen him battling Max Verstappen. There's nothing previous to go on here. We don't know how good he is at wheel-to-wheel racing in Formula One. And I thought about it when they said that, and I thought, you know what, the last wheel-to-wheel battle I can really remember George having where I was like, bloody hell, that was impressive, was with Lando Norris in F2.
Yeah.
When they were in Monza. And I think Lando ended up on the grass and had to give out in the end. But, yeah, I mean, we want to see more of that wheel-to-wheel racing with George Russell if that's how skillful the man is. I mean, that is high praise from Matt Steele. For those who don't know, is not just not just a fan of Formula One or an iRacer, but somebody with a lot of knowledge of how people are supposed to drive cars. So that is high praise.
Well, my take from that, and it's obviously the best way to look at people is to judge them by their teammates. That move Max pulled on George Russell where he got him back, I think if Max pulls that move on Lewis Hamilton, Lewis doesn't get him back.
Yeah, quite possibly. It was, as I say, it was very clever. I thought Max was past and gone at that point.
I did.
No, and it took him another couple of laps after that, still, didn't it? So, yeah, it was. I mean, with DRS, this is what we were saying earlier. With DRS, that probably wouldn't have happened. Max probably would have sailed past a lot earlier, and would have been a bit of more of a slam dunk move, I think. But the fact that it was, what's the word? The fact that it was entertaining. Yeah, it was entertaining because there was no DRS, and that was it was fantastic. I really, really enjoyed the battle. I think it was the best battle of the race.
Yeah, I do.
I think it was. Got to say, it was a good recovery from Lewis after getting clouted on the first lap and ending up in the pits and being miles behind him without the aid of a safety car. He did say at one point he wanted to retire.
Yeah, I think he said, let's save the engine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I'm really sorry, guys. Let's save the engine.
Yeah, and Bono said, no, we can get top 8 or better out of this.
Yeah.
Now,
I did also find, sorry, Flood, I did also find it fucking hilarious that in the pit interviews for F1 TV after that, he was when asked about how he thought his race was, he suddenly turned around and said, "Yeah, well, it's just in those sort of things, you've just got to like pick your head up and just get on with it and push for whatever result you can get." I was there thinking, you ought to retire immediately.
Yeah, but I mean, when something goes wrong, your first thought is instantly, "Oh, bollocks to this."
It's another chance to rise, Paul.
But to be fair, yes, he did.
He did. It was a fucking great recovery drive.
Yeah, it was.
I'm not convinced by the talk that he could have won the race if he started where he did.
Well, if you're not convinced by that, how far behind was he at the end of the race, behind the race winner?
Yeah, how much running in clear air did he have? That's the difference.
Yeah, and that's fair enough. But he was a minute behind, I think, after his first pit stop.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of lap 1. And I think he finished something like 32 seconds behind the leader or something.
54.
Oh, okay, so it's a lot bigger than... So only 6 seconds then, actually, he made up on the leader. So maybe not.
Yeah, I don't think there'd have been... I don't think things would have been much different. Maybe he'd have been fighting with George, obviously.
I think he'd have been ahead of George Russell, possibly.
Do you think?
He had more pace in his car than George had in his...
George was fighting the Red Bull off for most of the beginning of a race.
Yeah, but I don't. Yeah, it's a strange scenario that had the beginning of the race played out differently. That may not have happened that way round.
Yeah,
but I think it was so positive for Mercedes that Lewis Hamilton was able to fight back. Okay, fine, he finished 5th, but he was 4th before he was told to cool your engine, otherwise we're going to end up with no points here. Mm-hmm. They just need to they just need to fine tune those dial out a little bit of the nastiness out of the car. And as soon as they get that working, I honestly think that Mercedes race pace wise, but not on a single lap pace is still well down, but race pace wise is up there now with Red Bulls and Ferraris, I think.
Mark Priestley was saying on the, I think it was the Checker Flag podcast, he thinks, as a designer, that whatever the numbers are showing that car can do, the fact that Mercedes are sticking with it shows that they believe it's not just going to be up there. It can be ahead of the cars in front of it. Yeah. He said otherwise they'd have changed philosophy. And he said if he was a Formula One driver and you could give him any car right now to fight for the championship this year, he'd take the Mercedes.
The thing is, it's long-term thinking, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Was it Karun Chandhok said it on Sky about it was if you the development that Red Bull and Ferrari might be able to pull out of their philosophies might get them over the next year or 2 years maybe, might get them up to a second and a half, maybe 2 seconds. It's clear that Mercedes believe that long term they are going to be a lot further down the road than that, and that scope for development is much more than the philosophy that Red Bull or Ferrari can get out. So whilst some teams might hit a wall with their development and only be able to eke a tenth out every now and again by bringing upgrades, you might find that Mercedes can bring half a second, every other race, start bringing in half a second. By the end of the season, this season, maybe even next year, they could be back to 2014 levels of development, and we might see other teams. I don't necessarily mean top teams, but other teams switching to go down Mercedes' route of philosophy.
So it'll be a green Red Bull with no silver side pods.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't put it past Mercedes to do that kind of thing. This race was going to be the clincher for them, whether they're stuck with this philosophy or not. And I would say that it's definitely worked for them, and it looks like it was the right move to stick with it and keep on developing it, rather than go back to Barcelona 1 spec.
Mm-hmm.
There was definitely the pace in there. There's an interesting article on the Autosport website about did Hamilton have the pace to do it, taking away the to get the win. Yeah, did he actually have the pace to win based on what he did after the crash? And there was definitely potential there for at least second with the pace that he had. Obviously, you couldn't tell that on every lap because he started losing 2 seconds a lap towards them when the cooling thing came in. Which cooling was an issue for every team this week, because I think it was actually hotter than they were expecting it to be by a few degrees. So I think they were expecting something in the mid-20s, and it got up into about 30. I think it hit about 34 at one point.
Track temperature was over 50 at one point.
Crazy.
So that was a lot hotter. So obviously teams hadn't thought that they would need that much cooling, and you do sacrifice speed for cooling power. And everyone was all about the speed this week because they didn't think it would get as hot as it did. But it's worrying for other teams when if this is a bad Mercedes and they can do things like that. Yeah,
absolutely. I'm not trying to. This really sounds like I'm kissing Mercedes' ass, doesn't it? But I'm not saying they're going to win races or win a championship this year, but they're probably like Lee said before, like what Priestley said, like they're probably better placed than any other team to make the gains to get up there.
Don't look for them at the beginning of the season. Look for them at the end. Oh, that worked well for McLaren, didn't it?
That was engine, wasn't it, with McLaren? This is all aero.
I still believe that they are Max Verstappen's biggest threat for the championship.
In George or in Lewis?
It's tricky, isn't it? Because realistically, you'd want to go Lewis just because he's been there before, and he's George Russell hasn't won a race yet, for instance.
Yeah.
But George has more points, nearly double the points Lewis has got.
I'm just looking at the standings here. Yeah. So if we look at the constructors' standings, McLaren are fourth with 50 points. They're 11 points ahead of Alfa Romeo at the moment. Mm-hmm. Mercedes are third, 120 points. They are 49 points behind Ferrari and 75 points behind Red Bull.
With a bad car.
With a shit car.
But a reliable car compared to the other two. The other two have had sort of issues. Yeah. The Mercedes has been quite solid.
Russell is 11 points behind Perez in fourth in the championship. And what is he, sort of 46 points off Verstappen? And Hamilton is a further 32 points. 28 points back.
Well, here's the thing.
Russell's 36 points behind Verstappen, by the way.
36, yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
So if Mercedes suddenly start winning, that could change very quickly.
And here's the thing as well. I think Mercedes have a much stronger driver pairing than both Ferrari and Red Bull. if they can get their car together, there is more chance of them being able to pull off 1-2s together than there is Carlos Sainz or Sergio Perez being able to pull 1-2s together when everyone else is on the circuit. You know, I know Red Bull got a 1-2 this weekend, but obviously there was shenanigans involved as well.
And how much does this energize them as well?
Yes, but this is the thing. So regardless of which Mercedes driver is trying to catch up points on Max Verstappen, if they can knock some 1-2s out, that's going to make bigger dents much quicker.
Yeah, I don't know. I still think Mercedes might be too far behind, but the race pace is not far off. The single lap paces might be what lets them down.
Certainly will this week. It's all about
unless they lock out the front row of Monaco.
It's all about one lap pace this weekend. So finally on to Red Bull. For anyone that is complaining that Max was allowed to pass his teammate, welcome to Formula One. You're obviously watching it for the first ever time.
Yeah, these things happen. We've seen it with Bottas. We've seen it with, even Nico Rosberg. We've seen it with...
And we watched Ferrari in the 2000s, so you didn't have to.
Yeah. Eddie Irvine, Rubens Barrichello, Felipe Massa. Ridiculous. Not ridiculous that it happens, but ridiculous to say that, oh my God, how can you let your teammate pass? Well, yeah, this is what happens. Red Bull clearly believe that Max Verstappen is the man to win the title, not Sergio Perez. That might hurt Perez, but it's kind of true.
Yeah, apparently Perez has asked for a clear the air meeting because he wasn't happy with being asked to do it.
I think his objection was more that earlier in the race, wasn't it? He was on newer tyres than Verstappen, came up behind him while he was battling Russell, asked to be let through and wasn't. I think it's probably more where his objection is coming into it.
But it's Red Bull. They're never consistent with the team orders. Multi 21 followed soon after by not bad for a number 2. But it was definitely, as soon as Leclerc went out, it was definitely Red Bull's weekend.
Yeah, Leclerc had the race sewn up until, as I say, the failure. He was so far ahead. He was almost a pit stop ahead of third place. So it would have been very difficult for Red Bull to even pull Perez into the equation. But a fantastic drive from Max Verstappen. Once again, he starts a race in 2022 and he wins. Finishes a race. He's a checkered flag and he wins. That's his stat for this year. The only time he hasn't picked up maximum points is when he's retired from a race.
Yeah,
which has been through no fault of his own. Both retirements were mechanical. So, yeah.
I mean, Red Bull's definitely become the car to beat. I think Perez is still a solid number 2 for them. I think he just needs to check his head. No pun intended.
It's whether or not he's a willing number 2.
Yeah, I can't see. He went to Red Bull alongside Verstappen. How he thought he was going to get extra, equal treatment. He was going to be allowed to go for wins when the driver that the team's been built round for the last 5 years is on the track.
I mean, he was kind of signed as the perfect number 2, wasn't he? Mm-hmm. Really?
Yeah.
And he's done a great job, Sergio Perez. He is now one of the elder drivers on the grid as well, which is strange because, I always find it weird when you witness an entire driver's career.
Same age as Johnny Cicotto.
32.
Yeah.
Yeah. So is Danny Ricciardo a year the same age as him as well? Year older?
Ricciardo, I think, is a year older than Perez. Might not have had his birthday yet. Birthday is Austrian Grand Prix-ish time usually, isn't it?
1st of July is 33.
There we go.
So Danny Ricciardo also sort of getting to that point now where, you start thinking, well, he's limited. Not that he's at the end of his career, but he's got limited years left, should we say.
Yeah, I mean, Alonso wants to drive until he's about 45, doesn't he?
His contract takes him till he's 43, does it?
He's
I
got,
thought this year's his last year, isn't it, Alonso's?
Is it?
no, he's signed,
Oh, I thought he'd not long signed a new one.
no, he signed for another 2 years.
I thought that's why there's talks about him being replaced for Piastri next year.
So it's the same as any
Sign.
contract, isn't it? It's whether or not he wants to use it.
Yes. Anyway, it's you are looking at Verstappen. How old is Verstappen now? 24. So
Yes, about that.
yeah. So yeah, it's going to be a bit painful for 32-year-old Perez to be like, oh, this guy's got world championship already, and I'd love to win a race, but I can't even 6 races into a 22 race season because all the chips are on him.
Just suck it up and enjoy what you're getting paid. I know races are there to win, but can you have the win or bust mentality when you're number 2 at Red Bull or you're driving a Williams?
It's difficult, isn't it?
Yeah. We all support the ones amongst us that support football teams. How many championships did our respective teams win this season?
0.
But we still support them.
Yes.
So you suck it up. You get on with it. It happens. And I think Perez will be sat down and said, this is the situation. You will get a win, but you won't be our favourite to win while you don't need to be.
Yeah, if Perez is first and Max isn't behind him, then he's not going to be told to let Max through.
No.
So that will be his opportunity to win a race, but that wasn't the case.
Yeah, as soon as they went 1-2, it's like, right, it's coming.
Yeah.
And they ended up doing it in the pits.
What, the switch?
Yeah.
No, they did it on track.
I think Perez was slowing for the pit stop when Verstappen went past, wasn't he?
No,
No, I think it was
halfway
a,
around the lap. Yeah.
No,
Was it? Oh,
it was a legitimate overtake.
No, I thought it was a stop. Admittedly, I just nipped out to answer the call of nature at that point and came back and swapped places and Perez had pitted. But that's the way it goes. But again, Max sets off, wins, doesn't crash. Are we going to have one drive?
Showing a maturity, isn't he?
Yeah, because when he's fighting, he's not as aggressive. But by God, he was angry with the DRS.
Do you get the feeling he's battered that rear wing since? Do you reckon he's taken a hammer to it?
Well, that's a normal fix if it stays open, isn't it? Sort of hit it on the top. So has he been hitting it from underneath to open it?
Possible.
Then there was try pushing the button once, try pushing the button after you've curbed. Sky viewers press the red button.
Don't press it 50 times.
Oh, that was another one, yes.
Yeah, or Max Verstappen could press the red button if he's a Sky Glass customer.
Yeah. But all in all, I think a pretty good and solid win for him. Right, rock stars and wankers.
I don't know about wankers. I don't think there were many wankers, were there?
Can we go Latifi for still being behind Hülkenberg in the Drivers' Championship?
That is
Not
impressive.
really. He's in a Williams.
Yeah, but Hulk was in a early season Aston Martin. No, I'm just trying to think any obvious wankery behaviour. Track limits. Lando losing his lap in Q2, sorry.
By an inch.
That's what the line's there for.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's exactly it. I do agree with not being able to abuse track limits because then you know what the rules are. And much like Martin Brundle often says, if you put an Armco barrier all the way where the white line is, we wouldn't go past it then, would they?
No. Let's just go to Discord because there's usually a few people throw up suggestions for rock stars and wankers on there. What we got? Sainz for being anonymous. Leclerc's power unit.
Yeah.
Aston Martin, the Green Bull update seems to have done very little to actually improve things.
Yeah, I don't know about Aston Martin. It's a weird one.
The drone camera.
Oh,
I
that's a
quite liked
wanker.
it. It was all right.
It was very divisive. People were loving it and hating it on the internet.
It was not.
I was
for
worried
me.
that it might come down.
I
on
was
the
worried
circuit.
about that.
Oh, actually, what they claimed was the drone camera during FP3 when it went round the corner, flying the same path that the drone flew the rest of the weekend, but you blatantly saw the shadow of a full helicopter.
And it was in good quality, whereas the drone cam was not a good image.
So it was a big drone piloted by somebody sat in it. Rockstars. George.
Spanish Grand Prix in general. Yeah, George Russell, Max Verstappen.
Fernando
Yeah.
for
Fernando Alonso.
Yeah.
Lewis Hamilton.
yeah. Someone suggested 2022 cars for actually managing to make Spain a good race with exciting battles.
Yeah, but again, like I said earlier, I don't remember Spain being so boring that you fell asleep. It was a pretty good race all round. Yuki Tsunoda, I think, even deserves a rock star for getting an AlphaTauri into the points.
Especially when it's seemingly a little below par.
That's being polite.
Where are AlphaTauri? 17 points in 7th place, only 2 points ahead of Haas. Sorry, only 2 points ahead of K-Mag. Right then, Monaco this weekend. If we want a parade, we got one.
Well, we might not. It depends what the weather does. What's the weather
Yeah.
supposed to be doing in Monaco this
Depends
weekend?
if it
See, we have a
rains.
look.
Yeah,
Rain.
will it rain on the parade?
That is a good question.
That
We should ask
always makes it good.
Virtual Statman because he is there at the moment. He's on a European tour, but he's not coming to the TT.
It doesn't matter what it's doing there at the moment. It's no bloody use to us what it's doing there at the
Yeah,
moment.
it currently says rain for Saturday and Sunday.
Oh, the forecast I'm looking at says sunshine for Saturday and Sunday.
Oh, okay. I've got.
It's all fucking guesswork this far out anyway,
It is.
isn't it?
This is
Of course
very,
it is.
very accurate.
Yeah, SchrodingersWeather.com. Say what they say.
I'm on the Met Office.
Yeah, BBC weather also says sunshine.
So I think we can take it from that if it's decent weather, we are going to have a bit of a parade. It is all about effectively all about the one lap qualifying, and the only way you really lose places there is by sticking it in a wall, where you lose all the places.
Or going for a pit stop and not having your tyres ready.
Yep, that's not helpful.
Yeah, that was a good one. Or going for a pit stop at the wrong time under a safety car.
Yeah, or having a bolt not undo on your tyre, so you then have to send your tyre to back to England, your wheel back to England to have it sheared off.
The 72-hour pit stop.
Mm-hmm. Having someone pee in your seat.
Yep.
Who then turns another car on its side.
Mm-hmm.
Sideways cars are a problem, so
Yes.
if people like going sideways, Monaco's not the place to do it, because you will block the entire circuit.
And I think that's about the best you can say for a Monaco preview. Are we going to bother with predictions? Because
Top three will be the
Yeah,
top
I'll-
three from
I'll have a
qualifying.
Yeah.
yeah,
I'll go. Let's have a look. Lewis Hamilton win, just to cap this podcast off and make all those people rage one more time. Sebastian Vettel second, and Fernando Alonso third.
All right,
Hey,
2008.
I wanna watch that race.
That is a slightly retro podium. That podium has probably happened at some point.
I think the last time that happened would have been Austin 2012. I think.
I will go Verstappen win, Sainz second, Leclerc third.
and I'm also going to go for a Verstappen win, but Perez second and Sainz third, and the Leclerc curse continues.
Excuse me.
I'll go George Russell win, Verstappen second, and Lewis Hamilton third.
Definitely a mixed bag there.
Mercedes comes good.
If you're feeling brave enough, you can go onto our website, threelegs4wheels.com, go to the games section and look for the Grand Prix Prediction League. You can predict top 3, pole position, fastest lap, number of DNFs, and whether there'll be a safety car or not. That was the first race without a safety car this season, this weekend, by the way. You've got until 5 minutes before qualifying starts on Saturday if you want to include a prediction for pole position, and then until 5 minutes before the race starts on Sunday if you don't want to predict who gets pole, because you can't predict who gets pole after someone's got pole.
Austin 2012 was not the last time that Hamilton, Vettel, and Alonso were on the podium.
I thought you'd gone quiet. I was wondering if you were doing this.
It was the first time they all shared the podium together. Spa 2013 was the last time that we had a Hamilton, Vettel, Alonso podium.
So this could be the first one for, nearly 9 years.
Yes. That's what I've gone for. Hamilton, Vettel, Alonso, in that order.
That is a bit retro. Right, one other thing to say, that if you want to help us out and get access to the show a little bit early at the same time, and maybe get the extra Patreon shows when we do them, you can sign up for Patreon at patreon.com/3legs4wheels. That's from as little as £1, $1, €1 a month. I got completely lost in the middle of that.
Some currency. We would like some currency from you.
You can sign up for a currency a month.
One.
If you want to get in touch, email address 3legs4wheels@gmail.com, and we're at 3legs4wheels on the socials and individual.
Wait a second, are we accepting rubles?
No.
Okay.
A valuable currency.
Nothing against the ruble. It's
nothing
just
that's going to get us on a list.
Yeah, I'm on enough lists as it is.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I forgot about that. Yeah, let's not talk about that.
And while we're at it, it's going to be slightly more than 1 Turkish lira, because I think it's something like 4,000 of those to the pound or something. At 3legs4wheels on all the socials, and individually on Twitter, we are
At Sean Cowper.
At Flood21.
At A Total Shunt.
And at Pablo100. Right, we'll be back next week if Monaco doesn't all send us into some kind of coma. And, of course, it's the Indy 500 next Sunday night as well. Scott Dixon on pole for that with a ridiculous 234 mile an hour average over 4 laps.
Fastest pole qualifying ever.
That is insane speeds. I don't think a Formula 1 car could quite do that, could it?
Don't think so. Not over...
Not over 4 laps.
Not over 4 laps. No, that's
not
8.
for Indy.
That's 8 miles at that speed.
10. 10 miles, 4 laps, isn't it?
No, it's 2 miles, isn't it?
2.5 miles.
Oh, it's 2.5. Yes, sorry, it is 10 miles.
500 laps, 200 laps for 500. Yeah. Dizzy, stop being a twat.
Right, we have a cat being an arsehole. I think it's probably time to go. We will see you next week amongst the sounds of clattering
she nearly
ornaments.
behaved herself for a full podcast.
Bye-bye.
Fucking hell.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
See you next week.